Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Congratulations on your admission to UTM, and welcome to today's Sciences Course Enrollment Workshop. My name is Angel, and I'm an academic advisor from the UTM Office of the Registrar. I will be facilitating today's session, but of course, this is not a one-person job. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce my wonderful colleagues who are also helping to provide an informative workshop for you today. I'm joined by Jen, who is also an academic advisor from the Office of the Registrar, Cece and Quay, who are our awesome peer leaders. I'd like to give them a moment to introduce themselves, beginning with Jen.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to see that you're all here. Looking in the chat, I can see you're from all over the world, which is absolutely thrilling to me. Welcome and congratulations. I'm going to be in the chat answering your questions. I'll jump back in at the end to help answer some of your questions verbally as well. So please do put all of your questions in the chat. I look forward to seeing them. And I'm going to throw it over to Cece now.
Hi everyone, my name is Cece. I'm an incoming third-year student here at UTM. I major in computer science, which is obviously a science major, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you upcoming in September, and looking forward to answering any questions that you may have at the end. I'll pass it to Quay.
Hi everyone, thank you so much, Cece. My name is Quay, and I'm also an enrollment peer leader here at the Office of the Registrar, like Cece. I'm an incoming second year into my specialist of biological chemistry with a double minor in math and chemistry, and I'm super excited to meet everyone and answer your questions. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jen, Quay, Cece. We will dive right into the presentation now because we do have a lot of content to cover. I would like to apologize first and foremost. If you see my eyes darting around a bit, it's because of the monitor setup I have currently. But let's just start with a land acknowledgement. This is very important. So we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are very grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Moving forward, we do have a very packed agenda for you today. We'll be going over important dates, understanding your degree requirements, choosing programs, course selection, the resources you can use to help you with this journey, and then, of course, next steps such as payment methods, your student T-card, so on and so forth. I would also like to add that there will be 2 intermissions where Cece and Quay, our awesome peer leaders, will be sharing their tips and experiences. Furthermore, you are encouraged to ask your questions in the chat. We'll try our best to answer everything that comes through the chat, but there will also be a live Q&A portion at the end where Jen, myself, Cece, and Quay will do our best to answer those questions verbally. Throughout the session as well, you'll see a lot of links pop up on the banner, so we encourage you to write those down. We'll also include links to the resources discussed in the chat and then also in the YouTube description box. So moving forward, let's start with some important dates. For year 1 students, which many of you probably are, your enrollment date is July 17th, so please make note of that. If you've been admitted maybe as a transfer student upper year, your enrollment date as a year 2 student would be July 10th. And for our year 3 students, they were actually invited to enroll in courses today, which is July 4th. The deadline to pay or defer your tuition fees is August 14th. And the first day of classes, which is very exciting, is September 3rd. The deadline to add or drop fall term, so first term courses and Y courses, meaning courses that are scheduled to run from September all the way to August, is September 16th. So these are just a couple of really important dates, and I encourage you to keep them in mind. Now, starting with your degree. let's go over what the degree is actually made up and what types of degree the University of Toronto Mississauga offers. We do have 4 types of degrees here at UTM. We offer the Honors Bachelor of Arts degree, the Honors Bachelor of Science degree, the Bachelor of Commerce degree, and the Bachelor of Business Administration degree as well. Now, your degree is made up of 2 very large and main components. This is general requirements that all students have to follow and complete if they'd like to graduate from UTM with their degree, in addition to programs of study, which ultimately is your choice in terms of what you would like to pursue. Breaking down general degree requirements. So you do need to complete 20 credits and earn a CGPA of 1.85 or more by the time that you graduate. So your degree is made up of 20 credits. You might be wondering, well, what is a cumulative grade point average? This is the grade point average that follows you all the way from once you've completed your first course and received a final grade, a percentage grade, all the way up until when you graduate. So with a few exceptions, it does include everything, which is why it's important to be mindful of the CGPA requirement for graduation. Now, in addition to your general requirements, you do have to be mindful that your programs of study, again, they determine what degree you receive. So acceptable combinations of programs are 1 specialist, 2 majors, 1 major, and 2 minors. In addition to this, you do have to complete distribution requirements. So that's 1.0 credit in humanities, 1.0 credit in social science, 1.0 credit in science. And if you're thinking, well, I'm not that strong maybe in humanities or social sciences, please rest assured there are options, but all students do have to complete these distribution requirements. And in addition to this, your 20 credits will include 13 credits at the 200 level or higher. And of the 13, at least 6 of them need to be from the 300, 400 level. So these are just the general requirements that make up your overarching degree. And I'd like to just mention at this point that your degree requirements are explained in the academic calendar. So if you wanted to go over there and see what these requirements are, they're broken down quite specifically in the calendar. Now, focusing on the second half of that equation we saw, programs of study. It might sound like a little bit stressful thinking that, okay, well, my programs determine what degree I receive, but rest assured you have a lot of options at UTM. You have over 180 programs to choose from, which means you can create an experience at UTM that is completely unique to you. So a specialist is your decision, of course, if you'd like to pursue it. But if you do choose to specialize in a subject area, the specialist program will consist of 10 to 18 credits out of that 20 that you need to graduate. The major program, on the other hand, would consist of 6.5 to 9 credits, and your minor program will consist of 4 to 4.5 credits. It's important for you to be mindful that you can customize your degree. So just again, as a reminder, you can specialize in one subject area. So you can pursue a specialist or the 2 majors or 1 major, 2 minors. And there is no right answer in a way. It's completely up to you what you would like to choose ultimately. You might choose to focus on the 1 program or combine up to 3 programs, as the slide gracefully says here, to diversify your interests and your goals. Maybe you have goals that align with your interests. Maybe you just find a topic to be interesting. And then additionally, maybe you would like to pair that with a program that is for professional goals that you have post-convocation from UTM. So these are all options for you to think about. We do suggest you use the following steps to help with the process of choosing your programs. So the first step is to explore some more. First year is the absolute best time to explore all of your options here at UTM. As a reminder, there are over 180 programs to choose from. And again, these are all listed in the academic calendar, so I would highly encourage you to deep dive in that resource and take a look. Additionally, the second step is to prepare. So we'll talk more in detail about this later on in the session, but it's important to be mindful that some of the programs are more competitive than others, which means that you'll have to look at the entry requirements in the calendar and be mindful that you are meeting them or in some cases exceeding them. So this is where the preparation really comes in. And then the third step is to apply. So at the end of your first year, once you've earned a total of 4.0 credits, you will be expected to select your programs. And for some of them, again, you'll be required to apply. We have 2 application rounds per year for our type 2 and 3 programs. Again, I'll explain more about that and what those numbers even mean later on in the session. But just to keep in mind, there are 2 application rounds. One is in spring, one is in summer. Now, moving on to the types. So, type 1 programs. These programs have unlimited enrollment. What this means is these type 1 programs are open to all students who have completed 4.0 credits. You can go on Acorn if you're interested in a type 1 program. You can add it and you will be automatically enrolled, at which point you can just go ahead and start working on your program. Type 2 programs, on the other hand, they are competitive. Luckily, there are unlimited spaces in these programs, but you'll have to go to the calendar, review the requirements to join. Maybe they require you to complete specific courses, achieve certain grades in specific courses, and even a CGPA requirement they may have. As long as you meet these requirements, the departments may invite you to the program because there are unlimited spaces, but you'll need to, again, work on meeting these requirements during your first year. Now, for the type 3 programs, these are our most competitive programs at UTM, which means that space is limited, unlike the type 2 program that has unlimited spaces. So similar to the type 2 program, you'll have to go to the calendar, look at the requirements to join, but please take those with a grain of salt in a way. Those are minimum requirements. And because these programs are competitive, simply meeting the requirements to join may not guarantee admission to these programs. So in this situation, we do encourage you, if you have your heart set on a type 3 program, please also have a combination of type 1 and type 2 programs in mind that you may be interested in taking should the type 3 goal that you have not work. Moving on to food for thought. Firstly, again, please take the time to explore UTM's programs and plan ahead if possible. So think about this question. Are there specific courses that you need to take? Again, you'll have to go to the calendar and really review what is required of you in order to apply to these programs. Additionally, please be mindful that it is completely okay to change your mind and not know at this point what you want to study. Many of the attendees in this session might be feeling this, so you're not alone. There's a lot of you I can see that have joined in. It's perfectly normal to not know, but first year is the most perfect time for you to do this exploration. You can change your courses and programs ultimately to find a good fit. Thirdly, distribution requirements as a suggestion. They can help you explore other program areas, and they can also count as your electives. So if you have some program options in mind and you're aware of which courses to take for those, but maybe you have a little more space on your timetable, maybe you can start chipping away at those distribution requirements, which would give you an opportunity to explore and see if maybe that subject area could become a program for you in the future. You never know. You might find yourself to be very interested in it. And fourthly, we are always here to help. This is just not an exhaustive list of all of the resources that we have here, but there are quite a few to highlight. So we have UTM 1 courses that you can take, the Launch program, the Office of the Registrar, which is where I come from, the very helpful resource, the Career Center, and the International Education Center. Now, I will pass this slide over for our first intermission with our awesome peer leaders, but we will be talking about here tracking your progress with Degree Explorer. So Degree Explorer, you will learn your academic advisors once you meet with us as you move towards your degree. We'll be really explaining this to you. Are you using it? Have you used it? Have you checked it? Please get in the habit of using this resource. You'll be able to track your progress towards completion of program and degree requirements through here. There's also a planner tool that you can use to hypothetically forecast which courses to take and what they would count towards in terms of degree and program. And there are videos regarding how to use this through Quarkus. So I'll leave this intermission up to Cece and Quay to provide further information.
Thank you so much, Angel. Honestly, looking back on my first year here, I think my biggest concern as I enter university was how to enroll in like relevant courses while maintaining flexibility to explore all the different programs in life science. Yeah.
How did you overcome like your concern? Was like the Degree Explorer particularly helpful, Quay?
Yeah, that's a great question. Personally, I think using the Degree Explorer has really helped me keep up to date with all my courses and program. As Angel has mentioned, it's really similar to the academic calendar, but it's like tailored to your personal wants and need, and it's such an essential tool to track your academic progress and see the courses that you have and have not completed. Yeah, and to foresee your program, you can use like the planner function to align those courses with the post that you want to complete. And I know that this is like a lot of information, but just the one takeaway that I want you guys to have is to start exploring all the resources that you have, that UTM have to offer early on, because they really help set a good foundation as you enter university. So.
Okay, thank you so much, Cece and Quay. Really appreciate the student perspective on Degree Explorer. Now, moving forward to next steps. Firstly, again, we will drive this point home. Please continue to explore the academic calendar. So I've covered already that the academic calendar, it explains your program and degree requirements. So for program, that would be entry and even completion requirements once you do eventually choose your programs and become accepted. With degree requirements, they're clearly detailed in the calendar as well, but the calendar does not only highlight these types of topics. You have your policies explained in there. There are important dates in there. There's also information on the grade scale, GPA calculations, things like that. So that's why this is our first suggestion. Please take your time. If you have a moment over this summer, explore the site and try and understand how to use it. It will definitely come in handy as you move forward with your degree. Secondly, please explore your program options. You are in this position right now where you are exploring what's available to you based on your interests, based on your goals. So please use the new student enrollment workbook to help you work through this process as well. We can completely empathize with the fact that this is a lot of information, but the workbook was put together so that it would almost be like an advisor is sitting with you and working through your options. So I would highly encourage you to please take a look at that workbook and regularly use it. Now, thirdly, you would explore your course options as well. So this is, again, the step-by-step on how this should work. You might have these kinds of questions. How many courses should I be taking? What is a full-time course load? How do I read the course code? And all of these questions will be answered today. So reading the calendar. Course codes, they do provide you with important information just at a glance. So let's go through an example. you may find this to be unfamiliar information, but the course code does provide you with a lot of important details. It can answer what program department the course belongs to, what level the course is. So is it a first-year course? Is it a second-year course? The credit value of the course, when the course is being offered, and which campus is offering the course. Because I'm sure, as you are aware, the University of Toronto, they have 3 campuses. We are the Mississauga campus. There's also St. George and Scarborough. So very neat. The course code does answer all of these details. So breaking it down, for English 101, the first 3 characters of the course code tells us what department is offering the course. So in this circumstance, it's the English department that is offering this course. Now, the first number in the course code indicates the level of study. In this case, English 101 tells us that it's a first-year course or a 100-level introductory course. On the flip side of that, 400-level courses are the most advanced, and they are intended for our upper year students. Now, if we look at the 101 part of the course code, we can see that together, these numbers identify each course in the calendar, timetable, and ACORN. So this number is really unique to this English course that the department is offering. And the reason I mentioned that the number is unique is because you should definitely pay very close attention when enrolling in your courses. If you were to change even 1 digit in this course code, it could completely change the course that you're enrolling in. So for instance, English 101 would be how to read critically. That's the course potentially that you'd be wanting to take. That's why you're adding that course code. But let's say you accidentally typed in English 102. That would totally change the course, and you would be enrolled in how to research literature. So again, it's really important for you to pay close attention to what numbers you're actually adding. Now, moving forward in the course code, the 7th character will tell you what the course weight is. So the H stands for half. If the course you're taking has an H in the course code, it means that you would be awarded half a credit once you take the course and you pass the course. The Y letter, on the other hand, you might see this, signifies a full credit course. The reason being, Y stands for year. You would start the course at the beginning of the session and end at the end of the session. So for Y courses during fall winter, they start in September and they're scheduled to end in April, hence the Y. Now, this number also has another meaning. It tells us which campus the course is being offered at. So at UTM, our course codes have the number 5 in it. For Faculty of Arts and Science courses at St. George, their course codes have a 1 in it. And for UTSC or Scarborough, their campus has the number 3 in it. So just from looking at a course code, if you see, hypothetically, English 101 H1F, you would know, well, this is not a UTM English course. So if you're, let's say, for program entry, needing English 101 H5F, that's the one that you'd be looking to take. So again, this number can really change the trajectory of what you're intending to do. So it does mention here for the tip on this slide that did you know you can take courses at other UFT campuses? So we do have a policy on taking courses at other UFT campuses. The policy is that you can take electives at other UFT campuses or potentially courses to count towards the distribution requirements. But if you're thinking of taking program entry or completion requirements at another UFT campus, please ask the program department for permission before you do that. Every department at UTM does have an advisor in it separately to help work through any of your program entry or completion requirement questions. So the suggestion then is that we do suggest you reserve your first year to your UTM courses and gathering what you need to apply to programs, and then exploring the other campus courses in your upper years. Now we've made it to the end of the course code, and the letter or the last letter of the course code also has significance. So for English 101 H5F, this identifies the session or the term in which the course is offered, as well as the duration. So F-term courses, they are first term courses. That's what the F stands for, or you can think of it maybe as fall, whichever helps you remember it. If a course begins in the first term between fall winter, it starts in September and is scheduled to end in December. If you're taking an F-term course over summer, it's scheduled in May and scheduled to end in June. S-term courses, on the other hand, they stand for second term or second subsession. For the winter term during fall winter, those courses would begin in January and in April. And if you're taking the course over summer, at the S courses would begin in July and end in August. Now for Y courses, as I've mentioned throughout the session, they are the year-long courses. So they begin at the start of the session and they end at the end of the session. So for fall winter, these courses would begin in September and in April. And then if you're taking them over summer, they would begin in May at the start of the summer session and end in August at the end of the summer session. So moving on to step 2, building your schedule. So let's say you've determined what programs you would like to pursue. You have a good idea from the academic calendar what courses are required of you. Maybe you had some space and you're thinking, well, I'd like to explore a little bit, maybe tackle a distribution requirement. You can go to the Timetable Builder resource and find to see if the courses that you actually want are offered. It's important to note that for each session, the courses that you might want may not be offered. So this is where the Timetable Builder is really, really important. You should check it to see if that course is in fact provided during that session. We have made it to our second intermission, so I'd like to invite Cece and Quay back on screen just to explain a little bit more about the Timetable Builder.
Yeah, thank you so much, Angel. That's really great timing. And I really want to ask Cece how you managed your own schedule. Did you use the Timetable Builder in the process?
Yeah, definitely, Quay. Timetable Builder has been my best friend when it comes to selecting courses and planning out my semester. Since I was a new incoming student, I found out about the resource through one of the Enrolment 101 sessions, and it's great. It allows you to block off times where if you need to spend time on like commuting, or if you have a part-time job, at those times it allows you to block off those times. So then when you try to add courses that are actually goes into those times that you blocked off, it will show that there's a conflict. So then you won't actually be taking courses while you're at your job. And another great thing that it does is that you can it contains all the courses that's offered on the semester that you're planning, and then you plan it out, and it allows you to build your timetable that way, and then after you build it, after you move it to Acorn on your enrollment card, which helps you greatly, since you don't have to, on your enrollment day, search for them individually and then add them. All you gotta do is just click enroll, like I did this morning, since I'm a third-year student. Yeah.
Yes, that's great. Thank you for your advice.
Okay, thank you, Cece. Thank you, Quay. Again, really appreciate your insights as students. Moving on to course loads. So here are some general guidelines for you to follow. You might be wondering, how many credits do I need to even be considered a full-time student at UTM? So at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, if you are enrolled in 3.0 credits or more during the fall-winter session, you're considered to be full-time with us. So that would be 1.5 credits per term, hypothetically, or in other words, 3 classes per term. You would be considered part-time, on the other hand, if you're enrolled in 2.5 credits or less in the fall-winter academic session. So I wanted to mention here that it's extremely important for you to also think about the other attributes that make up your academic journey here. So hypothetically, maybe you're an OSAP recipient. It's important to know what the thresholds are for OSAP and to maintain your funding with them. Additionally, on the other hand, for let's say our international students, you may have, let's say, a particular course load requirement for study permit that you need to maintain. So these are also different things to think about. At UTM, we view your full-time, part-time status in this way, but just being mindful that your international student status, as well as, let's say, if you're an OSAP student, these different attributes could change things for you a little bit. And moving into support for our international students. So at UTM, we have a really awesome partner and resource. They're called the International Education Center. They do offer free immigration advising and programming support for all of our international students. So this includes immigration advising, transition support and programming, information about UHIP or your University Health Insurance Plan. They also can advise you on global learning opportunities and provide employment supports. Meeting with the Office of the Registrar, you will learn that typically, if it's an international related question, we will be referring you to the International Education Center. So if you are an international student, please go to their website, take a look at all of the ways in which they can support you. They are a wonderful resource to you. And moving on to additional tips for all of our students. So the standard course load in the fall-winter academic session is 5 credits if you're looking to graduate within 4 years. So typically the degree can be completed in 4 years. Ultimately, that's your choice. But again, as outlined earlier on in the session, you do need to complete 20 credits in order to graduate. So if you take 5 credits in the fall-winter sessions for 4 years, you will get there to your 20 credits. However, it's important to note that many full-time students take fewer than 5 credits in the fall-winter, and they may use the summer session to pick up the remaining credits in order to graduate in the 4 years. Again, this is completely your decision. It is totally up to you. I'll share a personal experience. Years ago, I was a student at UTM before becoming an academic advisor here in the OR, and I started off at UTM in my first year of undergrad with 4.0 credits. I thought that pace was perfect for me, and it also helped set me up for program selection. So again, just think about these different caveats and what works best for you. You can also be mindful here that if there are conflicts in your schedule, the university will not be removing you from the conflicts. It's actually the student's responsibility to resolve those conflicts. However, the policy on conflicting courses is that we will make no accommodations if you choose to remain in a conflict. So being mindful, you cannot be in 2 places at once. It's not possible. So if you see a conflict on your schedule, please do everything you can to resolve that. And again, we're here to support you through the process. Now, you can make changes to your timetable throughout the summer with no penalties. So referring to this summer, you can make changes beginning on your enrollment date and after. But once classes begin, you do become responsible for any of the fees or academic work in the course, even if you don't attend. So let's say hypothetically you're enrolled in the course and you decide, I don't really like this content, I don't want to be in this course. If you choose to just ignore the course, unfortunately, you remain responsible for all of the components involved with that course. So that's financially and academically. So if you don't want the course to impact your record, please go to UTM Important Dates. I suggest now, just so you're mindful of the dates, and you can drop the course from your academic record and GPA by the deadline, just to ensure that it doesn't impact your record. Another very frequently asked question that we receive is, what courses should I take? So just as a general tip here, please first and foremost prioritize the required courses for your program. So start there. Again, look at that calendar, really figure out if I'm interested in a type 2 or 3 program or multiple programs at these levels, what do I have to take in order to be eligible to apply? Also consider your interests, your academic strengths, and please do not be afraid to try something new. Again, your first year, we do highly commend you to take your time and explore, complete your electives and distribution requirements that you need for graduation. And as a reminder, you will be choosing your programs at the end of the fall-winter session, so the end of the winter term when you wrap up your first year, if you've completed 4.0 credits. So let's look at a mock timetable here. Because this is our sciences session, we are focusing on a timetable for a student that would like to join the biology major. It also looks like the student is potentially interested in the chem major as well. So maybe they've decided that they'd like to set themselves up for a double major in biology and chemistry. So for the fall term, we can see that they have classes every day of the week. So Monday to Friday, they're in classes, but their class times are really all over the map in a way. And you can see that they have quite a few breaks in between. So this is just to show that university is not like high school. So if that's where you're coming from, university is definitely different from high school. There will be days where you might have maybe 1 or 2 classes. For example, if we look at Wednesday, the student is in class from 9 to 10, and then they have a huge chunk of time between when their Math 132 lecture starts at 4 p.m. So in that time frame, if the student, let's say, has a work commitment or they'd like to study or maybe just go home and take a nap, that's okay. It is up to the student what they'd like to do with that block of time. In addition, if we look at their winter term schedule, we can see for Monday, they are finished classes at 1 p.m. and they have the rest of the day in a way to themselves, and their extracurriculars, again, maybe part-time employment opportunities, volunteering, so on and so forth. So it's not like high school. It's totally up to you how you'd like the schedule to look. But again, being mindful that we have to work with what courses are offered and when they're offered. So again, in this case, this student is enrolled in courses from Monday to Friday. You might find that potentially based off of your interest, you might have a day off in your schedule somewhere. So that's how this process works. And again, it's not like high school. Now, checking the enrollment controls. This is super important. The enrollment controls are outlined in our lovely timetable builder application. So when you go to the timetable builder and you're looking at the information for the course, please be mindful of all of the information there. I know it can be a lot because you see information like the day and the time, the location, who's teaching, how many students are enrolled, if there's a wait list, enrollment controls, and even the delivery mode, whether that be in person or online. So I know it's a lot, but with enrollment controls, this can help save you a lot of confusion on enrollment date. If you try and add a course and then you find that you're blocked from adding the course, try and do this research beforehand. So that way on your enrollment date, you are prepared. So the example on the slide here is the priority enrollment control. And essentially when this happens or when you see it, it means that certain groups of students are given priority to enroll in the course first. And then at a certain date, when the priority period is lifted, other students can then take the course depending on space. Additionally, we have other enrollment controls, such as the AP enrollment control. This means that you are requesting to join a course. It would go under the interim status on Acorn, and the department will then be flagged that you'd like to join, and from there they will either approve or refuse the course depending on specific criteria. The criteria will be explained in this timetable builder resource. So again, please check. There are also restricted enrollment controls. So in some cases, courses will completely be restricted to students that are enrolled in specific programs, which means if you're not in those programs that the course is restricted to, you would be ineligible to take the course. So all of this is located in the timetable builder. That's why it's such an important resource. Please take a look. There's also a blue hyperlink in the example image that says more course information. Please expand this. This is where you'll find information about, let's say if the course has high school prerequisites, or university prerequisites, co-requisites, exclusions, stuff like that. It'll explain it in there. Now, moving forward to payment methods. So let's say hypothetically on this journey, you've gone ahead, you have added your courses, and now you would like to secure your spot in the courses that you have taken. You can do this in one of two ways. You can either pay your fees or defer your fees if eligible. So payment options include either through your bank, credit card on Acorn, higher ed points, and they also have options listed on our student accounts website as well, highlighting if you are making a payment outside of Canada, how to facilitate that. And our OSAP recipients, as well as scholarship recipients, may be eligible to defer their tuition fees. More information is at the fall-winter registration guide, which I see has been placed on a banner above. Please take a look at this webpage. I highly encourage it. Again, moving forward through these next steps. So first step, choose your courses. So go on Acorn on your enrollment date, enroll into the courses that you have planned to take, and please do not make the mistake of enrolling for only one term only. Try and enroll for both terms. The reason being we do not have separate dates for enrollment for fall and winter. When you enroll on the 17th of July, you are enrolling in your full session's worth of courses. Courses, they can fill up quickly. So again, please go ahead and plan ahead. Have a plan A, a plan B for yourself. And additionally, on Acorn, you may or may not be aware, but there is a enrollment cart feature. So you can go on to Acorn, add courses to your enrollment cart, kind of like a shopping cart. And then on your enrollment date at your start time when you log in, you can just start clicking enroll. This would be a quicker way for you to enroll in your courses rather than logging in on enrollment date and then typing in the course code. And then from there, trying to see if you can get into the course. Paying or deferring your fees after you've enrolled is the next step. So if you go on your Acorn dashboard as of today, you should see a status that says invited. Once you pay your tuition fees and that payment is credited to Acorn, that status should flip to registered. And there is a deadline to become registered, which is listed in our fall-winter registration guide. Additionally, if you're eligible to defer your tuition fees, this should also, the act of doing it successfully, should change your status from invited to registered. So being mindful of your status on Acorn as well is really, really important. I would urge you to go on Acorn and look at what I'm talking about. You will see an invited status there. And lastly, it is highly important for you to activate your UTOR ID, obtain your email, your UFT email, that is, your T-card. You can book a T-card appointment to gain access to the University of Toronto Student Services, and they have a T-card link here on this slide. So we've made it to the end of our presentation. I know this was a lot of information for you. I really appreciate all of you being so engaged. I can see lots of comments away in the chat. I wanted to highlight a couple of ways that we can support you moving forward. I don't want you to think that this is like the last way that you can reach out to us. So at the Office of the Registrar, we allocate a lot of our summer to supporting our new students. You're very important to us. So you're encouraged to regularly refer back to the course enrollment webpage on the new students website, where you can sign up and attend our academic advising check-ins, which are scheduled all the way up until your enrollment date. So those will be starting next week. Additionally, on your enrollment date and the day after, your academic advisors, such as myself, such as Jen and our other colleagues, will be hosting what we call the new student course enrollment party. It's a virtual party. You can drop in, ask us any of your questions about enrollment. Maybe you've ran into a couple of hiccups along the way. Drop in and you can ask us these questions, and we'll try our best to provide you with immediate support just to get you along your way with enrollment. I'd also like to highlight that within the Office of the Registrar, we have our financial aid advisor colleagues in this office as well. They have a chat scheduled for July 24th. So if you are an OSAP recipient and you have any questions pertaining to that, you're welcome and encouraged to attend that session. And I'd like to highlight that these events, they are recorded. So if there's something you didn't quite catch in this presentation and you wanted to hear it back, this recording will be posted back to the new students webpage. Hopefully shortly after this session ends, if not by tomorrow, and you'll be able to watch the session again. And also, please keep participating in your Eagle Connect squads. We highly recommend that. Such a valuable resource to you. And lastly, we will be moving into the live Q&A session that we have now. So I'd like to invite Jen, Cece, and Quay back up on screen to join me for this part.
I can tell you the questions have been coming in hard and fast, and lots of really, really good questions as well. So we're going to post questions up on the screen, and we will answer those ones verbally. And I will just say, if you have questions that really isn't related to what we're talking about right now, we're probably not going to respond to them. But do scroll up as well. So if you have questions about transfer credits, I put links in there for you, contact information. And if you're looking for OSAP information, I would actually just Google OSAP, because on their main page, they have all the deadlines for you already listed.
Okay, so we'll wait for the first question to go up on the banner, and then we'll get that ball rolling for our Q&A. Okay, first question. Can you apply to multiple programs at the end of your first year just in case you don't get into your first choice? Or do you wait until you get rejected and then apply to something else? So firstly, awesome question. You can definitely apply to multiple programs at the end of your first year. There's actually no limit, from my knowledge, as to how many programs you can apply to. However, you can only have an active status in a maximum of 3 programs. One of them must be a minor. So the recommendation is please don't apply to programs very randomly in a way. Make sure what you're applying for, you're eligible for, right? We also don't want to flood the departments with requests for students that are not eligible for their programs and haven't even completed their courses, because there is someone there that reviews the request and makes the decision. But if you are eligible and you've set yourself up and you'd like to expand your options, please go ahead, apply to whatever program you're eligible for, if you have minimum 4.0 credits. And then once you receive your decisions, you're welcome to decide from there which ones you would like to accept the invitation for. Do you have anything else to add, Jen or Cece or Quay, to this question?
I think you nailed it.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Next question. Is it okay if I have a class that finishes at the same time another class starts? Like one ends at 1 and another course starts at 1. So I am actually going to put our peer leaders on the spot to answer this question, because this is their reality in a way. Please go ahead.
I guess I'll take it and then I'll pass it to Quay. Short answer is it is definitely okay. For all universities, I believe was what Jen said, but at least for U of T, definitely we have what we call UTM time, where class starts at 10 past the hour, actually. So when your previous class ends at 1, and then your next class says starts at 1, in reality, they start at 1:10. And I can personally attest for the past 2 years that I've been at UTM, it's not a particularly big campus. You can 100% make it from the farthest end of the campus to the other one, if that's unfortunately what you have, within 10 minutes, and maybe even be able to do a little washroom break in the middle.
Yeah, I think Cece covered it perfectly. I was a little bit worried as an incoming first year student last year where it was like scheduled right next to each other. I think I had like a physics practical and then like a math tutorial or lecture right after. But yeah, it's definitely, we follow the UTM start time. So usually if it says like from 1 or 2, it's actually 1:10 to 2. So you only have like 15 minutes instead of like the full 1 hour. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on this note, Jen, our awesome academic advisor, mentioned a really great point to the other students that came to our other course enrollment webinar that we hosted yesterday. It was for business students. If you have a class on your schedule that is at St. George and there's a UTM course stacked right on top, yes, transferring between cities in 10 minutes that's not feasible, right? So just to put it bluntly, this is UTM time we're referring to. So that means if you have one UTM course beginning, let's say 1 o'clock, ends at 2, and then you have another UTM course on the same campus starting at 2 p.m., ending at 3, yes, you'll have that 10-minute window in order to walk between your classes. We would highly recommend you do not stack UTM and UTSC courses. It would not be feasible for you to transfer between Mississauga to downtown. That would be very difficult. Okay, next question. What is the main purpose of tutorial and practical besides in-class lectures? Again, I will pass this over to our peer leaders. I think they can speak on what this looks like on the ground for students.
I think I can go first. So I think it really depends on the courses that you're taking. But for me personally, I took a lot of bio and chem courses for my first year, so I can speak on that. So in terms of tutorial, for biology and chemistry, it's more of like reviewing the content that we've learned in lecture, and also that's where most of our quizzes are conducted. So it's during the tutorial sessions. And for practical, it's as it says, like practical sessions, you do practical experiments. So in chemistry, maybe we run like we do like organic chemistry analysis, or for bio, it's like, like testing osmosis, or looking at animal and examining their features and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not sure if Cece has anything else to add in terms of computer science or yeah.
I think in general, tutorials and practicals are just because first year, your introductory courses are like 100 to 300 to 500 even like students per lecture. They're like your high school size, like 20 to 30 maximum, I think 30 to 50 people within one smaller room where you just refresh your the content that you learned in lecture, or it might be like some new material, but that's definitely tied towards what you learned in your lecture as well. It's kind of like a little refresher, and like, or sometimes it might be like a little starting ahead for your lecture that's coming up.
Yeah, and to add to this too, completely we understand the lecture format. It might be a bit intimidating. Like if there's so many other classmates in the room and your instructor's going over content and you have a question, you might not be comfortable in that environment to raise your hand and ask your question, which is completely fair. The tutorial and practical, they give you an opportunity in a very small environment with your teaching assistant for you to ask those questions that you may have and maybe get that one-on-one support. I know when I was a student at UTM in the past, I took advantage of my tutorial and practicals in a way. I always asked questions, always clarifying the rubric components, and it did help me along the way to really clarify that this is what the instructor and the TA is looking for prior to maybe writing a test or completing an assignment. So on the note of tutorial and practicals as well, they typically are not optional. So if you see that the lecture has a tutorial and practical, please go ahead and enroll in all 3 components. That's super important. Now, next question. Can my electives be in the same program I'm taking? Jen, I will give this one to you.
And you know what? I'm not 100% sure. I would think that some of them might meet the electives, but usually your distribution, which can count towards your electives, your distribution credits. So that would be 1.0 credit in humanities, 1.0 credit in social sciences, 1.0 credit in the sciences. They're going to count towards, in many cases, your electives, and sometimes they could actually count towards your program requirements as well. Am I correct? Am I pulling this out of thin air? I think I'm correct.
You are correct.
My friends, thank you.
I want to mention one piece of this. So as Jen mentioned, technically, yes, right? Because distribution requirements, you can also look at them somewhat like electives. But when you go to Degree Explorer, again, really driving home this point, please use Degree Explorer, it's very important. On there, you'll see that you cannot have more than 15.0 credits with the same 3 letters for the course code. So you have to diversify. You're in a way encouraged to diversify. So although you might find the program that you're in to be very interesting, I would say look into a specialist option for that program. And then from there, again, diversify. Think of what other courses you might be interested in. Again, this is also new. There's so many different things for you to look through. But I'll even mention when I was a student at UTM, I participated in our summer abroad program. And that's where you travel to another country with your UFT prof and also with your UFT classmates. And I use those abroad opportunities as a way to get electives because you're getting a UFT credit for completing that course, but you also get to study in a totally different part of the world. So I would encourage you to maybe take a look at the abroad opportunities if they can help support your electives. Now, next question. Biochem. Hi, I am entering my first year and I am planning on specializing in biological chemistry. For the math courses, it says I must take. Which one would you guys recommend? So, Susan, honestly, I would say the choice is completely yours. Now, something I always tell students when I am advising them one-on-one is that we are all so different, all of us. So what you might find to be interesting or more manageable, I might find to be more difficult. So we have a wonderful banner put on the slide here. First year calculus courses, which one to take. This link is super helpful. It'll help you figure out what each course is actually about, and maybe that can help you figure out which one would be best for you. But again, we don't have a recommendation because it's totally up to you. How is the tuition cost calculated by credits to be taken? Great question, Velma. Jen, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, so some courses, and you heard already in the presentation today about regular tuition that we have to have, and then we've got certain programs that are going to have a different tuition rate for you. Generally, your tuition will be based on the number of courses that you're taking. But if you're in a deregulated program, you'll be paying a tuition that's kind of predetermined for you. When you see the essentially the invoice for what you owe, if you're studying something like biology, for example, you'll see the tuition based on the number of courses you're taking. And also, it will be different whether you are a domestic student here in Canada, a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or you're a protected person, or you're here on a specific visa. But if you're an international student, your amount would be slightly different as well. So I do encourage you to take a look at the fees page. I will find the link. I did put it in the chat, but I'll put it in again so that you can see how everything is calculated. And they also provide you with some really great snapshots of what that invoice might look like for you, just so that you're a little bit more comfortable.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
That was perfect. Do you have to enroll in courses and practicals / tutorials separately, or is that an automatic process? So it's not automatic. You will go on Acorn and you will type in the course code. From there, you can select the lecture, the tutorial, the practical. These are all separate elements of the course that you will have to choose. Do you have any tips regarding this, CC and Quay? Just because, again, this is your experience, given that you're upper year students.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of like enrolling in practical and tutorials, I know that there are several different practical and tutorial sessions, and I think that it's important to sort of have like 3 or like 4 options in mind, and like what tutorial sessions you want to take, just to make it more flexible, especially during like course enrollment. If it like fills up really quickly, you have like other options that you can enroll in, which is a mistake that I unfortunately made in my first year. I did not include everything, but yeah, so try to diversify and make sure that it's not automatic, it's not an automatic process, and make sure that you do have like a list of tutorial that you want to enroll in. I don't know if CC has anything to add.
Just to really emphasize on the amazingness of Timetable Builder, adding it onto your Timetable Builder, and you can pick your own like between different tutorials or practicals that's offered. So then you have your course there, and you have your lecture section, and you have your tutorial section or practical section together, and that creates your beautiful timetable that you see, and then you transfer it onto your enrollment cart on Acorn.
Yes, key point. Use your enrollment cart, please. Remember, if you have courses in your enrollment cart, which years ago I remember they in my upper year introduced the enrollment cart, and I thought adding a course to the enrollment cart meant that you enrolled in the course, which is not correct. Think of you buying something online. If it's in your cart, you need to cash it out for you to receive it, right? So very similar process here. You have your cart. You can use this to make the enrollment process a bit faster for you on enrollment day, but add your courses there, and then on that enrollment day, log in and click enroll. Super important point. Thank you, Cece and Quay. I appreciate your perspectives. Between lecture, tutorial, and labs, what would be the total time commitment per week on average? So this is kind of one of those questions, because it also depends on what programs you're trying to pursue. Like, I mean, you're in the sciences webinar here, so you'll notice like in that mock timetable that we had for Math 132, you had your lecture, you had your tutorial, you had your practical, right? This could take up more time than, let's say, a student who is trying to join, hypothetically, let's say a sociology major. They will have the Social 100 course on their schedule, and it would just be the lecture, right? Jen, do you have a number to provide for this student? I don't think I have a number to give, just because I think it's so different across the board.
Yeah, I would say generally, and this is pretty general across most universities, you're looking on average of spending about 15 hours a week in classes and tutorials. It could be a little bit more depending on whether you've got practicums and things like that as well. So I would, just in the back of your head, kind of keep that number 15, and know that there's some flexibility with that as well. I would also when you think about the number of hours that you're in your lectures, you're in your practicals, you're in your tutorials, um, also know that that's not the end all and be all. You also have to study. And the last number that I heard to get really great grades is to triple the number of hours you're in class. And that amount will be the number of hours you spend studying and doing your homework. So if you're in school for 15 hours a week, that means about 45 hours. That's what you're going to spend studying. And keep in mind, you also can build in fun time and, all the other cool stuff.
Of course, that's important. Your wellness is definitely extremely important. And on the topic of that, thank you so much, Jen, for mentioning this. We do have a Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center on campus, and they have some awesome online resources to help you with creating a healthy study plan, because it's definitely not effective to spend all of your time studying. You should approach your degree almost as if this is a marathon and not a sprint. So you want to enjoy your time as well, right? Schedule in that time for extracurriculars, schedule that time in maybe to just watch TV and relax, or go to the gym, or do something outdoors. So it's important for you to schedule in that study time and make it more productive. And even in that mock timetable that we had on screen as well, you saw that student, that hypothetical student, had in some days like a 4-5 hour break in between two classes. I know for myself, I had that kind of schedule in the past, and I used to go to the library at UTM. We have a really awesome library. It's very comfortable. It's so many different floors with different features on each floor. But CC Quay, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the fourth floor might still be the silent area. Am I correct? Okay.
They're all silent, I think, except for the first floor that you go in. That's not silent,
Awesome.
and
So
everything else is
I
quiet.
remember
Basement is also basement is where it's the loudest because it's like the congregation area. So that's also
okay.
not silent.
Yeah.
So group studying then, if we would like
Yeah.
to put it that way. But if you're in a position where, let's say, you would like to study alone, I used to go to the fourth floor with my lunch, and I used to sit and chip away at an essay or chip away at studying for an exam or test. So just keep that in mind. If you have that kind of block in your timetable, you can use it for productive things as well. What should I do if all of my program choices within my program are type 3? Am I allowed to apply to programs in different departments? Jen, I will let you answer this.
Sure. Absolutely. Remember, at the beginning of the presentation, Angel mentioned that your first year is all about exploring, right? It's all about finding the direction that you want to go into based on the things that you really enjoy studying. So let's say that you have applied into computer science, and we said, sure, you've been admitted to this admission category of computer math and statistics, and you get into it and you're like, yeah, you know what, I like computer science, but I actually took some sociology courses and I really like that. You can absolutely go and apply for sociology. So you're not stuck to that one program that program area that you were admitted into. You can absolutely change your mind and count on it.
Yeah.
It's important to know that it's okay to change your mind and change your direction. And I'm going to throw out the stat that I gave in the past couple of presentations as well. Students across North America are going to change their university trajectory in some way um, within the 4 or 5 years that they're studying with us. And that number is significant. It's anywhere between 60 and 80% of students are going to change their mind at some point. So it might be changing the program that you study, or it might be adding a different program that you didn't necessarily think you wanted to go into. It might even be deciding that you want to go on to grad school. So changing your mind is awesome, and it's important to do.
Yeah, and it's part of the process for
Yep.
sure. Now, I also mentioned within the session, the presentation portion of this, if you have your heart set on just type 3 programs, just being mindful, these programs, they are the most competitive at UTM, and meeting the minimum entry requirements may not guarantee admission. So we highly encourage our students with this program goal, or many of these types of program goals, to also think of program options that would make them happy at the type 1, type 2 level as well, just to increase their chances of, if this doesn't work, I can also funnel into this set of programs. And the Career Center is really helpful because you might think, well, if I would like to work in hypothetically, let's say business, for example, I need this BBA, I need this business degree, right? That might not be the case. So this is where the Career Center can help you put those pieces together. I would highly recommend that you browse their website, look at what services they offer. They also have a page that's titled Careers by Major. So again, once you graduate from here, this will become a distant memory. You will start working or maybe going off to grad school or another professional school, and what you choose to take care could help set you up for those goals. So the Career Center, I would say, please make sure that you look onward and think of other program options at the type 1, type 2 level as well. Do you have to complete all distribution requirements in your first year, or is it mainly based on your post? So I see Cece shaking her head there. I'm going to give this to Cece. Go ahead.
The short answer would be no. You don't have to complete all of your distribution requirements in your first year, although I think collectively we encourage you to do so, just because in your first year you have more introductory courses, so that's where like you have the most flexibility of exploring your post options and what programs that your UTM has to offer. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the distribution requirements are based on your program of study at all. You just need to complete 1 credit in humanities, 1 credit in social sciences, and also 1 credit in sciences for your distribution requirements. And since this is a science plan your degree webinar, I'm going to assume that your post is within science. So your So what you're taking for your first year that counts towards your post is already covers your science 1 credit distribution requirement.
You got it. You are correct, Cece. Thank you for sharing that information. It's very helpful. But yes, Cece completely covered the answer to this question. You're not required to complete distribution requirements in your first year. And as a reminder from earlier on in the session, your degree, it's made up of general requirements that apply to all students. So every student that's in this session, as well as your programs of study, which are unique to you. Those are your choice. So think of the distribution requirements as something that everyone has to do, and it's external from programs. But as Cece mentioned, given that this is the sciences webinar, if you are working towards, let's say, joining a science program, the credits you take for entry to that program could count towards satisfying the science distribution requirement as well. So then you'd be left with your humanities and social science. And another tip to check what your courses are counting towards, again, log into Degree Explorer, and you will see from there if those courses are in fact counting towards satisfying that science distribution requirement. I guess we can move on from this one. If I received an entrance scholarship, do I have to defer my fees? So from my knowledge of this process, and Jen, please jump in if I'm wrong, if your entrance scholarship is covering your minimum payment to register, you can defer your fees based off of the scholarship. Now, there is a separate process from OSAP students, and I'm sure it's clarified on the fall-winter registration guide. OSAP students, on the other hand, if we have any of those types of students watching in right now, you would submit your fee deferral request through Acorn. So OSAP students have a button on Acorn under the finances section, whereas for our scholarship recipients, there's a separate process. I believe you have to submit maybe a ticket through Ask Registrar requesting this. But again, please check the fall-winter registration guide for the up-to-date information on it. Jen, do you have anything to add for this one?
I would just say if your scholarship, and this goes for OSAP as well. So if the amount of money that you're waiting on, whether it's a student loan or whether it is a scholarship, is significant enough. If it's $200, they're not going to defer your tuition fee. But if it's significant enough, then absolutely go ahead and do it. It makes sense. I can tell you that for OSAP students, it absolutely makes sense. You do not want to be financially canceled for not um, letting them know that you're waiting on OSAP. So my recommendation is to do it.
Oh, I also thank you for mentioning this, Jen. Jen and I are like feeding off of each other. I just remembered something that is super important. So if you are eligible to defer your fees, it's important that you do it, because once you become registered, you will have to look onward to payment deadlines next. So you'll have some outstanding fees potentially. Let's say the scholarship doesn't cover all of your tuition. Let's say your OSAP doesn't cover all of your tuition, which that could be the case. You'll then have to pay what's left over by specific deadlines. So for students with a fee deferral, these deadlines could be different, right? Versus the students that just pay their minimum to register. Maybe they had an external savings or an RESP. So if you are eligible to defer, please go ahead and do so. And we do have a website. It's called Payment Schedule, UTM. You could just Google that, UTM Payment Schedule, or in the inverse. And on there, you'll see those deadlines updated, and you'll see separate tables that will say clearly, if you deferred your fees due to scholarship, follow these payment deadlines. If you are an OSAP recipient, deferred because of that, follow these payment deadlines, so on and so forth. So thank you for bringing up that question, Sonia. This was really important information to share. Next question. Do we pay double tuition if we choose to do double major and both are deregulated? That is an awesome question. Truly, that is a really good question. So, from my knowledge of it, if you are enrolled in 2 deregulated programs, you would be billed the higher of the 2 program fees. So, please don't quote me on this. Again, this is very hypothetical. I can't think of a legitimate example on the spot, but let's say hypothetically you are enrolled in management and you're also enrolled in commerce. From there, whichever has the higher program fee, that's the one that you would be paying to cover both. Hope that makes sense. Sky asked, how and when do I enroll in summer sessions, and how do I know what is offered in the summer sessions? So I will leave this to all of you, Jen, Cece, Quay, if you would like to take a dabble at this question.
Sure. I'll jump in first. I know it's been mentioned before, but the timetable builder is going to be one of your best friends. So when you log into the timetable builder, you'll actually be able to select what sessions you want to choose from. So right now, when I go into timetable builder, it shows me the summer session because that's what I've been using recently. But if I switch it to fall, it will give me the fall and winter courses. You'll be able to do that in the summer. It will give you another section and you'll be able to select summer for 2025. Oh my goodness. And then you'll be able just to select the campus that you're looking at studying on, because all 3 campuses will be listed there. You'll be able to indicate what department. So if it's biology, you can select biology, and then you'll see all of the courses that are listed there. You find the course that you want to take, and then when the enrollment period pops up, you'll be able to enroll in those courses via Acorn. Did I miss anything, my friends?
Just like to add a little, like the academic calendar, which will pop up. Actually, I'm not.
I think we said it was March.
Yeah, I think so, but don't quote us on this. UTM timetable. Sorry, not timetable builder. UTM important dates would be your best friend. All you gotta just go on it and then select the session, and then it will tell you when the courses will be released and when you will see your enrollment time for the summer sessions, and then pop on to timetable builder, like Jen had mentioned, to schedule your summer courses, and then obviously move them to your Acorn enrollment card.
Yeah. So for the summer session as well, just to feed off of what Jen and Cece have mentioned, first of all, it's so great that you're thinking of the summer session, right? Fall, winter, that one's coming up. So let's prep for this one first. But after that one is over or nearing its ending, around typically from my experience, February to March is when they will post the timetable builder with those summer courses. They'll post a summer registration guide. So right now we have that fall winter registration guide. They have one for summer as well. And also they'll update important dates, as Cece mentioned, with all of those important dates. Typically enrollment for summer happens around March, I believe, March to April. And April is when you should be expecting to become registered at the latest, because those summer classes start in May. So again, it's quite early, so please take this with a grain of salt. This is just off of our experience of it, but those 3 resources is where you'll find that information when the time does come. And rest assured, the university, we do communicate with our students when this information is published. So check your UFT email. There will be a lot of updates going there additionally. Okay, Felma asked, what is a requirement? Is a grade 12 average that you did not meet? Do you need to retake? If yes, in UTM or somewhere else? So
I can answer this one if you want.
Go ahead.
So if you have a course that has a high school prerequisite, let's say it's English and you've come from another country, your best bet is actually to reach out to the program to say, this is what I took. I wonder if it's equivalent to the high school prerequisite. They can definitely give you the thumbs up or tell you that you need to retake the course. Alternatively, you could also reach out to the admissions team. So student recruitment and admissions, you have their email address. I popped it into the chat for you, and it's up on the screen as well. And when you reach out to them, you can say, I just need to know whether this is going to meet the requirement for this particular course in this particular program. If you do need to retake it, we always recommend that you take it through the through the Independent Learning Center. And we can put that in the chat as well. I'll pop that in there. It's independent learning. You can actually, do it in the summertime before you want to take the course. If you want to take it this summer, you can do it. If you want to take it next summer, you can do it as well. If it is a required course, maybe you've decided that you want to switch your post and you didn't take a particular course, let's say it's biology, and you spoke to the department or you spoke to admissions and they said, yes, you do need the high school prerequisite, then ILC is really important to follow up on. And I'll put that in the chat for you, okay?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, Alondra asked, if I drop a course, will it show on my transcript as dropped? Perfect question, Alondra. So if you go to the UTM Important Dates website, which I mentioned this in the session, but I will say it again, please go to that website and write down those drop deadlines sometime over the summer before they even come up. Go ahead and do that. Maybe plug them into an agenda if you like to write out your dates in a calendar, or maybe your phone or Outlook calendar, whichever works for you. You never know. You might think you won't end up in that situation, and then you might just end up in that situation as you move on throughout the course. And it would serve as a nice reminder if you're looking through your dates and you think, oh, well, next week is actually the deadline to drop the course. How am I doing? Can I assess my progress now? When you drop the course, what happens is if you meet the academic drop deadline, the course will completely disappear from your academic record and your GPA. So in other words, that means that your transcript would show nothing. It would almost be like you didn't even try the course. The only individuals that would know that you tried this course would be you, and then of course us, because we would have the history on your record. But that's about it. There's really no penalties as long as you meet that deadline. However, please be mindful, the final academic drop deadline, typically once you reach that period, there are no refunds to receive for the course. So if you're paying per course fees, which many of you would be in your first year because you're not enrolled in programs yet to determine if you should be billed deregulated or regulated fees. If you drop the course by that firm deadline, the amount for the course or the fees for that course will stay on your invoice, but the course itself would be removed from your transcript and your GPA. So just keep that piece in mind as well. We have a lovely student accounts website. I mentioned this in the presentation. There is a refund schedule on there, and it does show the refund deadlines specifically for fees. I think it's such a helpful resource. If someone can include that in the chat, that would be super helpful between Jen, CC, or Quay. Or you can just Google, all of you that are still watching us, you can Google UFT student accounts. It's on there under the tuition and fees tab. They post it for summer and they post it for fall, winter. This could be a neat way for you to just look at those refund deadlines. Additionally, important dates, which I see it's up on the banner, that resource has the deadlines on there as well. Abiha asked, how would choosing between a specialist, major, minor impact us? So I'll start off and invite Jen and Cece and Quay if they have any other comments on this. There is no impact to answer the question. Again, it's totally up to you what you would like to pursue in terms of the acceptable combinations of programs. So hypothetically speaking, let's say you find yourself interested in just one subject area, you might then decide to just pursue one specialist in that subject area, and that's completely fine. It's your decision. Hypothetically, a student might find two subject areas to be interesting. So they decide, I'd like to double major then. I want two majors, one in this subject area, one in the other. Another student might be interested in three subject areas. Maybe one is for interest, one is for a grad school goal, and then the other is for maybe employment opportunities. Hypothetically, that student then could decide to pursue the one major and the two minors. So there's really no like negative impact if that's what you were asking. It is completely your decision what combination you'd like to pursue of the acceptable combinations of programs. Did you want to add anything else to my colleagues here?
I would just add, remember, again, the first year is all about exploring. So you don't have to determine whether you want a specialist, a major, or a minor right now. Spend some time thinking about, what courses are good, going through the academic calendar, opening up those different courses to see what they're all about and what you'd be learning, and again, be open to changing your mind.
Agreed. Okay, Zainab asked, will my course enrollment be affected if I don't get my UTOR ID before July 17th? Cece, go ahead. You have the answer. Please go ahead.
Short answer is no. No. You can log on to Acorn using your join ID as well. As on login page says join ID/UTOR ID, and I believe Quay talked about it, that she did her course enrollment using singularly the join ID and then converted her UTOR ID.
Yeah, so for my personal experience, it was because I didn't have my study permit yet, and I was an international student, so I couldn't apply for my UTOR ID, and I was able to do everything through my join ID, and I didn't get my UTOR ID until I landed in Canada a week before the course started. So yeah, don't worry too much, it won't be affected.
Thank you for sharing that experience, Quay. I feel like you might have provided some relief to a lot of our viewers for this stream. Absolutely perfect. It's true. Your join ID is actually your UTOR ID. It's just the join ID hasn't been flipped yet to the UTOR ID. When you convert your join ID to UTOR ID, you get access to your UFT email. You get access to Wi-Fi on campus, stuff like that. So there's a lot of benefits to making that change. Additionally, at the start of classes, we will no longer communicate with you through the personal email you signed up with for UTM. we will strictly communicate with you through your UFT email. So you might find yourself in Quay's position where you have to do it kind of last minute in a way, but please don't panic. It's just the idea is to get this done because you do need your T card. You use your physical T card as well as your ID on campus. So if you go for an appointment, they will ask you for an ID, such as if you meet an academic advisor in the office of the registrar in person, we will ask you first and foremost, may we see that T card to verify that we will be providing information to you, our student. Additionally, when you go to write an exam, you have to put that T card on your desk and the TAs will scan it to ensure that you are here. That's how they take attendance. So your course enrollment itself will not be affected if you don't convert the Join ID to UTOR ID before July 17th, but you definitely want to work on getting that process completed closer to when classes start. Okay, Aberol asked, are there any specific programs or courses that students interested in medicine/pre-med should take? I would encourage you, Aberol, to, once you've kind of settled in with your course enrollment and started your classes, request a meeting with the Career Center. They will be very helpful with this kind of question. I would also say, too, if you already have some schools in mind that you're interested in applying to after you graduate, maybe get in touch with their admissions offices from now and ask them this kind of question. Ultimately, when you apply there, that would be the admissions office assessing your application to determine if they would provide you with an invitation to join their program. So in some cases, it's best to go straight to the source. But those would be your two options in this case. Book a meeting with a career counselor to talk about how competitive this is. They're trained on the market and what it looks like in terms of jobs and professional schools. And then alternatively, get in touch with the professional schools directly.
I'll just jump in as well because I know that we've actually had quite a few questions about master's programs. Just remember that this is undergraduate that we're dealing with right now. So, yes, focus on undergraduate. Keep your eye on the prize because if you do want to go to grad school, you want to do really well here. But I'm going to echo what you said, Angel, and I'm actually going to say for anything admissions wise, anything to deal with how you build your courses to get into a grad program, whether it's med school or law school or any of the other masters that you're interested in, definitely reach out to the school and the program because they have very specific admission requirements. And some of them, and we get this a lot, there are some students that are like, I want to go into dentistry, which is fabulous. We need dentists. I love dentists. But some of those programs, especially once you leave Canada or you go into other provinces, they will have very, very specific courses that you need to take that perhaps we don't actually offer in the undergraduate program. So then you know what you have to take, and we can help you find another school that you can actually take that single course at.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. That's very helpful. And thanks for mentioning that this has been a popular question. So I hope that helped a lot of you. Ira asked, if I entered through the psych umbrella, is it still possible to major in something like bio for health sci or other pre-med majors? Absolutely. So one thing that I love about UTM, there's a lot of things I love about UTM, but one thing that I really love is that you are admitted to what we call an admission category. So in a way, you've been admitted to something, hopefully, that you are at least interested in, but you're not forced to stay in this particular admission category. You're given your first year, again, as we've mentioned many times throughout this presentation, to explore your options. The only thing is, if you are thinking of pursuing another program that might not fall under the umbrella of your admission category, check the entry requirements, see if you're eligible to join that program, and also do your homework through the timetable builder. Maybe you might find that some of the entry required courses have priority enrollment, maybe for students that were admitted to the admission category that is supposed to go directly into that particular program or grouping of programs. But don't let it discourage you in a way. If there's priority enrollment, wait for it to be lifted and then you can try your hand at that course, right? Enrolling and then going ahead and attempting to join that program. So please just know you're admitted to an admission category. This goes for everybody. Take your time, really figure it out, but you're not forced to stay in that admission category. Dorothy asked, can the two majors be from the same department, e.g. biology department? I will give a perspective on this, and then, of course, my colleagues here are more than welcome to jump in with their experiences too. So Dorothy, the simple answer to this is yes. When I was a student at UTM, I double majored in sociology and criminology. These are programs that are both offered through the sociology department. The only thing is you'll want to be mindful of what the calendar says. Sometimes the calendar details for programs will specifically say, if you're pursuing this major, you can only pursue XYZ majors as well, right? Along with it. So you want to read the information in the calendar quite clearly. Additionally, for your general degree requirements, you'll want to be mindful of something that we call distinct credits. So essentially with distinct credits, students must have 12.0 credits between programs that are distinct to them. Maybe don't worry too much about that right now, but it is clarified in the calendar that this is also something to be mindful of if you find yourself in the same position that I did, being enrolled in two majors from the same program department. Does anyone else have something to add for this question?
I think you did a great job.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Abraham asked, what advice would you give if someone doesn't really know which programs to do, and if he chooses all of their prerequisites, his first year is too packed? I see a lot of smiles here, so I'm going to let one of you go ahead and answer this.
Cece's bursting at the seams. I can see it.
All right, Cece.
It just reminds me of myself when I came into university. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had my MCS, like mathematics, computer science, and statistics stream admission, but I have not touched any computer science related courses ever in my life. And I was like, do I really want to do this? So I looked at the distribution requirements and I was like, okay, these are perfect things for me to jump ship and like try to explore what I'm actually interested in, and also decide whether or not the program that I'm admitted to is something that I want to pursue. But for my personal advice I would have is that you don't need to choose all prerequisites of like all the programs that you want to do. It's more so like you could take that is if you don't mind like not really figuring out what post you want to get into until the end of your first year, and maybe like not having the prerequisite until your second year, or like you take summer school and then and then afterwards you can apply for your post. I would recommend just like, say if you're interested in history, political science, and things like that, just do take a history course that you find interesting, that you can get into, that you have the prerequisites for, and take 1 or 2 or 3 political science courses that you are interested in, and see if whether or not like you are actually in the course and what you're learning and what you're writing is actually like passionate to you. And then afterwards you can decide, or if it's like a program where you were admitted to and then you take a course and you're like, wow, this is actually very interesting, then you could modify your schedule like next semester, or even like add your summer semester schedule later to reflect what you now have decided what you want to pursue.
Yeah, just to add to that, like as a first year student, I was admitted into life science, and I didn't really know, like there were so many different programs that like interested me, but which I'm not sure if it applies to Abraham here, but there were so many different programs. I was interested in molecular biology, biochemistry, and so like as Angel has mentioned earlier, you can go and talk to like people at the career center to see what path or what pathway that like suits you the most as you pursue further into your career. And then Other than that, I also see what sort of prerequisites like overlap for like the different science courses. So especially for like life science and some of for biochemistry, which is in chemical and physical sciences, there are some overlapping courses, and I choose those for my first years in order to like create my timetable. And as CC said, like also keep your option open and see what you're interested in and stuff like that.
Thank you. Now, you also might find that some of the programs you're interested in might have overlapping like entry requirements. So hypothetically, let's say that you enrolled in bio, I'm forgetting the course codes now, but I believe bio 152, 153, and you might notice that these courses are entry requirements for another biology program as well. So in that case, you could apply to both and then make a final decision on whether or not you would like to pursue one of those programs. Also, just pointing at the or looking in at the part of this question where you're mentioning that the first year is too packed. Again, if this is your first time, your first semester at UTM, try and think of those course loads and what would be best for you. Maybe give yourself a little bit of leeway here as well. You're not expected to know what to do. So just explore your options. And as Cece mentioned, and Quay, I think that's a great option. Just take maybe one course, counting towards, let's say, humanities, science, social science. Test the waters, see which ones you actually like. You might think from the description that you like the course, but then you might get into the course and decide, well, I don't really like this, right? So try not to be too hard on yourself. You will definitely be okay. You will figure it out, but just one step at a time. And please use that course enrollment workbook to help you through the process. Please use that resource. It's very informative.
And you'll find the link to that as well up in the chat. I posted it about 5 times for you, so you'll be able to find it.
Thank you, Jen. So Alicia asked, are all second year courses only able to be taken after completing the first year courses? Or it depends? I will let our peer leaders answer this because I see they are also bursting at the seams wanting to answer this question. So please go ahead.
Check out the academic calendar for the second year courses. They have if you click into the course that you're interested in taking, they have the title of the course, the little blurb that talks about the description of the course, and then below it has prerequisite. And some second year prerequisites have courses have no prerequisite. Sorry, I took a history course, like 300 level history course, even though I'm not in history last semester. And it was open, it had no prerequisite whatsoever. So all you got to check is after maybe in your first semester, you're like, oh, this is interesting winter semester course that I want to take. And you can check that. Well, I have this course that it says it's prerequisite. I'm currently taking it. Well, then you could definitely take that one. Or if even better is that they don't have any prerequisites, then you could just, put it into your enrollment cart. And then when it comes to July 17th, just click enroll. Do you have anything else to add, Quay?
Oh yeah, I think you summarized it perfectly. But yeah, just check the academic calendar for all the prerequisites that you need to complete before entering the course. And also, I know that there are some students who take the IB diploma and also A level as well. Which personally, I took A level and I had a lot of transfer credit for bio and chem. I didn't use them, but I know that if I used them, I would have satisfied some prerequisites for chem, like a second year chemistry course or a second year biology course. So yeah, just keep that in mind as well when you're applying.
These are great points. Thank you, Cece and Quay. Okay, SW asked, is there an office where we can have a chat in person with an advisor about transferred credits? I see Jen shaking her head, so let's give this one to Jen.
Sure. Unfortunately, no. The transfer credit team, they're also admissions officers, so they are incredibly busy. Right now, they are actually processing all of your transfer credits. However, and I'll put this in the chat for you as well, if you're wondering about transfer credits that you still haven't been assessed for, um, definitely go ahead and use the transfer explorer just so you can see the similarities between credits that you already have and credits that you think you might get. That's going to give you a really good idea of what's going on. I'm going to put it in the chat. It is further up in the chat as well, but I'll put it in here, so keep your eyes open for it. What I would recommend as well, and I will put this in the chat again, is to send them an email. That is the fastest way that you're going to get in touch with them. To be quite honest, if we had an office that was accessible for transfer credits, they would never be able to process transfer credits because they'd be talking to students all the time. So an email is probably the fastest way, and I'll get right on putting that in the chat for you. Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Okay. How realistic is it taking 6 credits in second and third year? So that's a really heavy course load, is what I would say to this. If you are joining as a first year student, which I would hope that most of you that are attending are, that's why these sessions are here for you. My recommendation is to try at minimum, if you're really wanting to graduate in the 4 years, the 2.5 credits per term. That's 5 classes per term. And that's really being mindful of your progress as well. Because if you feel like that's too much, again, this is also a transition period for you, and we're empathetic to that. We understand that. Try not to feel discouraged if you feel like 2.5 credits is too much in one semester. It's okay. Again, you need 4 credits in order to apply to your subject post, including your entry requirements if they're at the type 2, type 3 level. And if you wanted to pick up another full credit, you can do that in the summer as long as you're in good standing, right? Now, remember, your CGPA, as we talked about earlier on in this presentation, this cumulative grade point average, it does follow you, right? From the moment you complete your first course with a final percentage grade, all the way up until when you graduate. And you need it to be minimum 1.85 by the time of graduation. Overloading yourself with credits could impact your grades too. You'll want to give your best foot forward and your best effort in all of the classes that you try. So it is possible to take the 6 credits, but is it recommended? Not quite. Maybe I see you've highlighted second and third year. As you go along with your degree, you might even find that you're completely on track to graduating in 4 years and you don't need to cram 6 credits into your second or third year. You might plan it so neatly that you don't actually have to do that. Does anyone else have anything to add with this one?
I can add my personal experience. So for my first year, I didn't take like 6 credits, but I took like 2.5 for each semester, so it's a total of 5 credits. And then I felt that it was a lot of like work, but I also wanted to like balance my social life as well as like having the courses. So I'm planning for my second year to take like 4 courses, 4 half-year courses per semester, just so that I can like do other things, because there are extracurriculars at UTM and there are also like job opportunities. So it's like important to just keep like a good balance of like academic as well as like your life outside of school. So yeah, I think that's my only advice.
Perfect point. It's true. Don't forget, right? Like your wellness is very important. So what you find enjoyable, try and fit that in your schedule. So that could be something as simple as just watching a movie. Maybe you want to catch up on a show every single night. That is completely fair and normal. I know I do that. So just give yourself that flexibility And again, just for program selection, you only need your 4 credits to start in order to be eligible for those. As Quay mentioned, if you would like to try to take the 5 credits, you're welcome to, but then again, be mindful of those drop dates and your progress. Okay, Angela asked, do you have any tips on how to get accepted into a Type 3 program for a first-year student? So, Angela, I would highly recommend when you look at the entry requirements in the academic calendar, those are minimums. So try your best to aim for higher than what the minimums are. So let's say hypothetically for a program, it says you need a 63 in the entry required course. Please aim for higher than the 63, right? That's your goal. So also refer to the resources you have. Go to the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center. Again, this is a transition period for you. You might actually learn that your studying is totally different in university. Everyone has their different styles. I know I found mine when I was in university. Also, learning how to close read, things like that can save you a lot of time. You might find that your textbooks have hundreds upon hundreds of pages, right? So right out of your first year to get into that Type 3 program, you really want to aim for higher than what those minimum entry requirements are. And that will take maybe talking to TAs as well. If you're not sure, go and ask. Go and ask your instructor. They do offer office hours and things like that. Use all of these pieces in order to maximize getting a very good grade and then increasing your chances of joining that program. Do you have anything else to add, Jen, Cece, Quay?
I think that's the biggest one. Just always aim high. We do see a lot of students that when they come in for academic advising appointments and they're really disappointed that they didn't get into a Type 3 program, they attempted one of the required courses 2 times and they just got the minimum 63% average. Just always remember, you've got to aim higher than that because they are competitive programs. And again, ask for all the help. I think you nailed that on the head.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be shy. Your TAs, your course instructors, they're there to help you. So if you have access to office hours, from my experience, your instructors and TAs make time for you. So please go and seek that support whenever you need it.
I would also say too, because you mentioned the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center, a lot of students find that the first year required math courses might be a little challenging. They have sessions that you can actually join that are specific to the math courses. So they're almost like, they are facilitated study groups. So you are learning with students in the exact same boat that are trying to get much higher grades in them. So go ahead and use the resources. You've already paid for them with your tuition, and they're awesome. They're really, really good.
Just to add on top of that, for 100 level to 200 level math courses, there's also the MLC, excuse me, the Math Learning Center offered by the department. And it's typically just TAs or teaching assistants or even other students go there a lot. I know from my personal experience, most of the time that the MLC is taken up by first year students who are currently taking the introductory calculus courses or even the MAT 102, which is the introduction to proofs, that all statistics and I think all the MCS students stream have to take if they want to get into those program of studies. It's a great useful tool because you would get to bond with other students who are also struggling and together, and you could get help from the TAs, live help and feedback from TAs for your assignments and things like that.
That's a perfect suggestion. Thank you for mentioning the Learning Center. Sky asked, later into the term, are we allowed to juggle around course timings? For example, if I want to take chemistry at a different timing. Perfect question, Sky. So on UTM important dates, once you become registered in your courses by the deadline, it shows the date there or the deadline that you can finalize changes for your course. So let's say you're enrolled in a lecture, you're not too happy with the timing, and you decide, well, there's another lecture, there's space, I want to switch. You have until a specific deadline to do that. After that deadline passes, that's it. There's no more switching. And the same goes for if you forgot to add a practical or tutorial. So please make sure that what you enroll in, you are happy with. And if you're not happy, make the change by the deadline. After that, there are no other movements you can make besides dropping the course. Aveline asked, how can I book an appointment with an academic advisor? Thank you for that question, Aveline. So we are more than happy to help you. And I will say that as of right now, we are not booking an appointment for our year one students. The reason being, we have a number of supports for you that we're offering right now and also in the coming weeks leading into August. There are so many of you that are in the same boat as first year students. So we'd like to give all of you this information and be of a support to all of you. As I mentioned earlier on, at the end of the presentation, we have a number of course enrollment chats that are starting next week, leading into all the way up until when you enroll in courses, and even on your enrollment date and after. The academic advising team, Jen, myself, and our other advising colleagues, they will be there all day virtually to help answer any of your questions. You can just drop into that course enrollment party. We call it the virtual party. And you can ask us your questions and we will help you as best as we can so you can get along your way. If there's a really extenuating circumstance or something where we'd have to meet with a student one-on-one, that case typically would be referred to us. But when you start your classes, so in September, and everything has kind of settled down, you've started working on your course content and things like that, you can then go to our Ask Registrar platform and you can request a one-on-one meeting with an academic advisor. But that would happen again later into when classes start. So for now, please go to the new students website. I see that they've posted the banner here with the link. Go there, sign up for all of the different resources we have available, and they're all coming up. Okay, I think we might be at time. So thank you all for joining us. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we really appreciate it. We are so excited for all of you to start this journey with us. Again, Quay, Cece, and myself, we can confirm from a student standpoint that UTM is awesome. Jen and I can confirm from a staff standpoint that UTM is also awesome. So you made a wonderful first step by joining us and accepting your offer. We hope to see all of you in those other sessions that we're offering moving forward. And I would like to also thank Jen, Cece, and Quay for helping me out during today's session. I really appreciate all of your insights and perspectives and keeping up with the chat. So thank you all and have a great afternoon.